Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 8 of the Giro d'Italia, brought to you by Bicycle, the largest global marketplace for pre-owned bikes. With over 20,000 pre-owned and refurbished bikes available, Bicycle connects the buyers and sellers to make the process of buying and selling bikes safe, easy, and convenient. Now, remember to use the code if you're selling bikes, Butterfly Effect 24 for 0% seller fees. Now let's get into today's stage 8 because it's the first big mountain stage with a summit finish of 14.5 kilometers at over 7%. This climb has been used many times. I did it in Torino Adriatico when I had the race leaders jersey in 2012, and then I did it again in 2013 when I was sitting there battling out with Chris Froome going up this last and final climb, and Alberto Contador had broken away early. I thought, hey, I'm going to sit back here on Chris Froome because he's one of the biggest, best bike racers in the world. I'm going to follow his lead. And when he attacked and went across to Alberto Contador, the power meter was flying off the chart. Once we reached the back end there, the wheel of Alberto Contador, Chris Froome sat down and I thought, okay, I get to relax. And bam, Chris Froome went again to throw in the next acceleration and go up and win the stage. So this climb's got some great memories for me of doing it in 2012 and 2013. And in 2012, it was Vincenzo Nibali that won the stage. Later, he went on and took the race leader's jersey away from me on the last individual time trial. And so that was a little sore spot for me. And certainly a sore spot the next year when Chris Froome dropped me like a bag of beans there as I came out the back. Now, today's race is going to be an exciting race because we know with the summit finish of 14.5 kilometers that it's going to be a GC battle regardless. What we don't know when you went to bed last night is what's going to happen in terms of the breakaway. Are UAE team members just going to let anybody go up the road, or are they going to control the whole race from start to finish? Well, if we don't know what's going to happen, the professional peloton of racers and teams, the directors and sportifs, they don't know what's going to happen either. So they're telling all their riders, be prepared for anything, be aggressive, you can go up the road. So guys that are 5, 6, 7, 10 minutes down on general classification, they could gain 5 minutes or 8 minutes on this stage if UAE team members just decide not to work hard back there and other teams don't come up to the front and start controlling the peloton. Or maybe we get a big breakaway, maybe there's a threat on general classification up there. UAE team members have to go to work big time and they start blowing up their riders. Anything is possible when you went to go to bed last night. That's why we see so much aggressive attacking. And when we get into kilometer 0, right away, it's EF Education. They're attacking up the front and they're crashing in the back with Mikel Honore going down on the right side of the road there. Now, up front, EF Education, they're throwing down attacks all over the place. Massive, big size breaks are going up the road. And Julian Alaphilippe's a part of most of them, if not all of them, at the early part on this first little step on this stage 8, because Julian Alaphilippe, the Frenchman's throwing in attacks all over the place. But when I'm sitting on the Chesterfield, I'm like, Frenchman, what are you doing? You're blowing up the race. You've got to keep things calmer. And every time we look at UAE team members, guys, they are calm like a bomb. They started this race. If I rewind the film all the way to kilometer 0, look, they got 5, 6 guys at the front of the peloton. While we see 20, 30 rider groups going up the front, we see UAE team members on this first bump that's not even categorized, but it's a climb. Trust me, when they're going up this climb, UAE team members are calm. Like I said, they got the whole team lined out there. Tadej Pogacar doesn't have to worry about anything as they're letting the attacks up there just destroy themselves with attacks and counterattacks happening in that group of 20 to 30 riders the whole time. We go over the top of the climb and we start the first categorized climb here on stage 8. It's a monster attacks happening all over the place with, again, like 30 riders going up the road. UAE team members, look how calm they're sitting as a couple riders are still going across to the group up front. We get about 30 riders up there. If I compare the 30 from the first bump at the start of the stage here and then compare to the 30 right now, I bet a third of these guys, if not half of these guys, are the same because Julian Alaphilippe's in both, and Julian Alaphilippe's being aggressive all over the place. Now, we'll start seeing the breakaway start forming up this first category climb as you see Magnus Sheffield rounding out the last 3, 4 riders to get up to this front group to make it 14. We go back down the hill. We look at the peloton, what was happening. Well, we saw that UAE team members were hurting a little bit because, of course, they lost their sprinter, Milano, early. But now they're starting to lose up here, Mikel Bjerg, and we still got about 10, 11 kilometers to go on this climb with Mikel Bjerg coming out the back. Now, Mikel Bjerg, his legs all taped up on the left side. They said he got a bee sting in yesterday's individual time trial. Could be the bee sting that's hurting him, or it could be the effort he put into yesterday's time trial. You take your pick, because I can't tell you for sure. I'm not a medical doctor. But the bee sting or yesterday's individual time trial is stinging the legs here of Mikkel Bjerg as he's coming out the back with about 10 kilometers to go up this climb. We go back up to this group of 14. They're not gaining massive time on the peloton because, like I said, UAE team members are right in the front back there with Domi Novak doing an exceptional job. Grosschartner sitting on. Rafael Majka's having a little discussion with one of his teammates, and then Tadej Pogacar's up near the front of the peloton here right behind his team. We go back up to the break. They start having attacks. There's 4 guys going up the road to get KOM points, I guess. I don't know what they're doing, but they're not working well together. We go back and look at the Frenchman, Julien Alaphilippe. He's having it out with Nairo Quintana from Movistar. Nairo Quintana's like, Julien, I got my teammates on the front right now. You can literally look up there and see it's Sanchez who won a stage here at the Giro d'Italia right in the front of this group. Now they go over the top of the KOM. We see it's Simon Gaskin up there from Cofidis that gets maximum points, and he's got 3 riders for company. Romain Bardet's up there, and Parapente's up there too, along with Steinhauser. With those 4 riders going over the top of the KOM, the group behind's going over in second, and then we see a third group going over, all part of this original 14-man group that formed coming up this climb, but nobody's gelling well together. Come down the descent, they'll finally all get back together. Movistar, like I said, have 2 riders, Nairo Quintana and Sanchez in there. And Ineos have Magnus Sheffield in there, and they got Narvaez, the winner and wearer of the pink jersey from stage 1. So with Ineos represented with 2, with Movistar represented with 2, those are the only numbers in there with multiple teammates, and everyone else, the other 10 riders, are all individual riders from different teams. It's not gelling well. They are rotating well, it seems like, but the time is not going up. We go back and look at the Peloton UAE team members. Novak, Domi Novak that is, did a solid job of going up over the climb and keeping Vegard Stokkeleggen solidly on his wheel. Now when we're coming down the descent, Vegard Stokkeleggen's on the front, but he's going to get some company with about 100 kilometers to go, because guess what? Bjerg's legs have come back around, and the UAE team members riders back on the front of the peloton with about 90 kilometers to go. That means their climbers, Domi Novak, Grosschartner, Rafael Majka, and of course Tadej Pogacar in the brilliant pink jersey, they're sitting on getting a free ride with the 2 Flatlanders up there who can climb pretty decent too here on stage 8. They're riding the front full gas, and with 60 kilometers to go, the gap that was up at about 2.5 minutes is dropping down fast as we see the power in the legs from Bjerg up on the front, drilling it with Vegard Stokkeleggen. With those 2 riders drilling it, it goes down to 1.5 minutes, guys. And then we get under 50 kilometers to go. The Breakaway sprinting for Giro points. Someone's going to have to explain this to me. You got a shot at winning the stage here, going up one of the more famous climbs here in Italy, and you got these guys sitting there going for Giro points. Maybe some time bonuses. Maybe somebody wants a special jersey. I don't know, but it seems ridiculous to me because it's a bike throw at the line for the Giro, but they're losing time left and right to Bjerg and Vegard back there. Now the group gets back together and starts working the Breakaway guys after the Giro, but they're still not gaining any time. They're spending more time at the cars back there, and as we come up to the second categorized climb, Steinhauser throws in attack. Now, when you got 45 kilometers still to go and you're tacking up the second category climb here on stage 8, you know the pace couldn't be that fast because Steinhauser's been off the front multiple times and it's come back together, and that's the only sign for sure, if you're listening to the debate on Eurosport, on what's happening to the Breakaway or what's happening to the Peloton, because many times the Eurosport commentators, they're telling you guys like Vegard Stokkeleggen, and when we look at Bjerg, they must be riding fantastic. Yes, they're riding good, there's no doubt about it, but 2 guys can't bring back 14. 2 guys can't bring back 2.5 minutes down to 1.5 minutes, and it's soon going to be down to about 30 seconds when we start the last and final climb, because once we see Steinhauser start attacking, going up the second category climb here, Julien Alaphilippe's getting dropped back there with Demarque. They're getting dropped, but yet they can still get back on at the top of the KOM, where we see Simon Gaskin get more maximum points here on the second KOM. Now they go over the top of the KOM, we go back and look at the Peloton. Well, Bjerg and Vegard Stokkeleggen, they're going over the top and the front of the peloton too. And now you got the descent going into the final climb here as we start coming in about 20 kilometers to go. Those two riders from UAE team members now are selling out 100% to bring Tadej Pogacar in this last and final climb. The group of 14 up front, once they hit the climb with 14.5 kilometers to go, it blows up right away, and it's the Frenchman Julien Alaphilippe that's coming out the back. Shortly after that, though, he's not going to be left alone back there because we're going to see both Movistar riders, Nairo Quintana and Sanchez coming out the back. Then we look at the peloton as they're wrapping up Julian Alaphilippe. It's UAE team member. It's all over the front, and that's Domin Novak. Novak's doing a solid job. He's back to work here at the front of the peloton, and as he's accelerating, he's starting to get the peloton legs a little broken up, because you know they want to go for the stage win for Tadej Pogacar, that's for sure. But does Tadej Pogacar want to go from 5-10 kilometers out, or is he going to just wait for the sprint at the end of today's stage 8? Well, hold on tight, because we'll get to that. Now, as we look up at the front of the group of 14 that's quickly becoming 8, well, we get the first attack from Alessandro there from Arkea Samsic, and as he's throwing in the acceleration, it's blowing up the brake back there, and we see both Ineos come out the back, Narvaez coming out the back, and Magnus Sheffield, the American rider. Both are dropping the hopes here for Ineos, unless Geraint Thomas and our Insman, who are back there behind the Bora Hansgrohe train, who's behind the UAE team train. And when we're talking about going up from the peloton, if Geraint Thomas or Insman can pull something out of the bag, well, they got hope still. But right now, the breakaway, they got zero hope, because both just got dropped. Now we're going to see a selection of about 6 guys in the front of the breakaway up there, and we still got the 2-3 guys that are a threat up here on general classification. When the stage started originally, now they're not much of a threat because the gap's only at about 20-25 seconds, but they're 5 minutes to 6 minutes down on the general classification. That's Michael Storer up there, Steinhauser from EF Education, and Romain Bardet, who's finding some legs in this first week here of the Giro d'Italia, because he was sick the first stage 1 and stage 2. Now he's in the front group, but they're getting brought back, as we see with 10 kilometers to go. Max Schachmann's getting on the front. Once he gets on the front, he brings back the breakaway guys up there, at least 5 out of the 6, because there was attack Valentin Parapintre from AG2Rs going up the road. He's holding about a 20-second gap. Max Schachmann's just starting to blow at about 9 kilometers to go. Now it's time for Großschartner to get on the front. With Großschartner on the front, with Rafael Majka sitting second and Tadej Pogacar third, UAE team members are down to 3 guys, but they're holding the gap up there to Valentin Parapintre at just under 20 seconds. As we see with Großschartner at the front, he's starting to hurt the peloton, and they're getting reduced down to about a 20-rider field. But Michael Storer is still holding on. Bardet's still holding on, but he's going to come off later. And we see Steinhauser at the back of the peloton, but he's going to get dropped later. But Storer is going to have a great ride here on stage 8. Another sign that the break wasn't going that hard. If Storer is still in the back of the group of GC favorites here, along with Bardet and Steinhauser, you know it couldn't have been too fast. Now we'll see just as Großschartner starts pulling off with under 5 kilometers to go. Rafael Majka passes Großschartner and then gives a little fist bump out there, because he says, "Good job, it's time for me to go to work now." With Rafael Majka on the front, he's drilling it under 4 kilometers to go, still on the front. 3 kilometers, he's still on the front. 2.5 kilometers to go. The camera focuses in on Geraint Thomas. The Welshman looks pretty good in my eyes while I'm sitting on the Chesterfield. Then the camera fast forwards just a little bit further down the road. We'll see it's Danny Martinez there that the camera's focusing on, and he's looking pretty good too here for Colombia. But we go up to the front of the peloton, we still see it's Rafael Majka setting steady pace, and he's got the group down to about 16 riders. Ben O'Connor is still there. Kian Uterbrooks is still near the front of the group. And Tibieri from Bahrain Victorious is there, along with Rubiera, Einar Rubiero, who's there for Movistar. They got a couple other guys on for company, but some of the guys are hurting at the back, like Jan Hertz from Quickstep. He's kind of swinging on the back, but he's still in the picture. Then we start getting under 2 kilometers to go at about 1.5. Tibieri from Bahrain Victorious throws in an acceleration on the right side of the road. We look just behind him. Kian Uterbrooks sitting second, trying to follow the attack. Then Tadej Pogacar in the pink jersey. He looks over at Kian Uterbrooks. He's like, "I got it. I'll cover it." So we see the Slovenian sitting down, covering the move there from Tibieri. Takes him about 100 meters to close the gap up with Kian Uterbrooks on as well. Then we see the next attack by our Insman. Our Insman, Ineos, throws in attack. We see Tadej Pogacar directly on it. Then our Insman starts setting some tempo. I was like, tempo? I don't think you want to be pulling Tadej Pogacar right now up at this last and final climb here of stage 8. But with our Insman on the front and with the group starting to come out the back with guys getting dropped, we see Rafael Majka was back there for a little bit, but he's trying to find his way back up to the front. Storer with just about 1 kilometer to go. As we see Storer's getting back onto the end of the peloton of GC favorites here. He doesn't hang around because there's a little bit of pause at the front. The Slovenian doesn't want to touch the front yet because we're just about 1 kilometer to go. But Storer decides this is a great time to throw an attack with 900 meters to go. Michael Storer, two-door cycling, goes up the left side. Tadej Pogacar throws in acceleration, covers it directly. Then our Ensman goes back to the front at about 700 meters to go, and he starts setting some tempo. All the GC favorites are there, minus Plapp, who dropped early, and Lexi Lusenko, who dropped with about 5 kilometers to go. The Astana rider, he's out of here. The both riders in the top 10 of the general classification. But with our Ensman setting tempo on the front, well, we look further back, and that's Rafael Majka coming up the back end of the peloton here because he wants to accelerate on the front to make it a little bit harder for Tadej Pogačar. As Rafael Majka's passing Tadej Pogačar and getting up there to pass our Ensman, he takes over the front. Tadej Pogačar slots behind his teammate with 500 meters to go. 400 meters to go. Rafael Majka still on the front. 300 meters to go. Rafael Majka still on the front. Then we get to about 200, 250. We're going to see on the right side there, that's Danny Martinez from Bora Hansgrohe. He throws in the first acceleration. Geraint Thomas is locked on his wheel. Little bit over to the left inside there, that's Ben O'Connor there. But Tadej Pogačar is throwing in his acceleration on the left side there of his teammate, Rafael Majka. They're splitting Rafael Majka, and they're going to meet up just after that at about 150 meters to go. But Tadej Pogačar's had enough playing around. He throws in his acceleration, starts stringing out the group. Danny Martinez is trying to hold on to the Slovenian up there. Ben O'Connor slotted into third place. We look back, Tibieri, Geraint Thomas, they're suffering back there. Then we go up to about 50 meters to go. Tadej Pogačar looks back over his shoulder. He's got his tongue hanging out just before he did that. Then he looks forward, starts his big acceleration, sits up with about 10 meters to go to win stage 8 of the Giro d'Italia. His back-to-back stage victories here at the Giro, because he won the individual time trial yesterday, but it's his third victory here at the Giro because, of course, he won stage 2 too. So the Slovenian's got 3 victories out of 8 stages here at the Giro. Second on the stage, Danny Martinez. When we're talking about the podium, overall general classification, Tadej Pogačar, of course, is in pink still. Danny Martinez is second, and Geraint Thomas lost a little bit of time, but still holds third after having a fine ride of trying to hold on to the wheel of Tadej Pogačar with his acceleration to the line. Now, when we look further down, top 10 in riders, from 5th all the way back starts to change up and circulate quite a bit. So make sure you check out the classification here at the end of stage 8. But when I break everything down tactically, UAE team members were phenomenal. I don't believe they were trying to win the stage at all when the race started. But as we see from the interview from Tadej Pogačar, he says once Mikkel Bjerg got back on with about 95 kilometers to go, Mikkel Bjerg said, let's win this stage. And Tadej Pogačar said, okay. Once he came into the last and final climb, he saw that Domi Novak was still there to start the last climb with 14 kilometers to go. Grossschartner was still there. Rafael Majka was still there. And, of course, the Slovenian Tadej Pogačar was feeling good. They lit it up the last climb, and they take a third victory here for Tadej Pogačar, where tactically they look spotless to me and wrote it exactly how I would have written it if I was the UAE team members director, because I don't think they spent much energy up there with the exception of Mikkel Bjerg. When he got back on with 95 kilometers to go, he looked like he went deep today. So they might pay for that later. But overall, Tadej Pogačar didn't spend much energy with the exception of the last 200 meters to go on today's stage 8. Like and subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next edition for stage 9 real soon.